Imagine waking up every day with a deep sense of peace, purpose, and unshakable joy, feeling grounded no matter what the world throws at you. Picture yourself moving through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that no matter what challenges come your way, you can face them with grace, resilience, and wisdom. This isn't some distant dream or unattainable fantasy. This is the life you can begin building today, starting with one of the most powerful philosophies ever known, Stoicism. Life often feels like an unpredictable roller coaster filled with moments of triumph and trial. We all face struggles, whether it's stress, anxiety, relationships, or simply the overwhelming pressure of modern life. But what if I told you that Stoicism, an ancient philosophy rooted in self-mastery, can help you not only endure life's storms, but thrive in the middle of them? What if you could face adversity not with fear or resistance, but with calmness and clarity, turning challenges into opportunities for growth? This journey to a joyful life isn't about avoiding pain or pretending life's difficulties don't exist. It's about learning to embrace them, and in doing so, finding strength in the struggle and joy in the journey. Today, I'm going to share with you timeless Stoic principles that can help you cultivate peace and resilience in your daily life, so you can live a life filled with purpose and unshakable joy. Before we dive in, if you're ready to start this transformative journey, take a moment to subscribe. By doing so, you're not just supporting the content, you're taking a personal step toward growth, self-discovery, and a more meaningful life. Imagine for a moment that you're at the mercy of the world around you. Life feels overwhelming, unpredictable. You wake up to a flood of emails, a stack of responsibilities, and the pressure to perform. Perhaps a disagreement with a friend left you shaken, or maybe you're feeling the weight of expectations that aren't even yours to carry. It's easy to feel like everything is happening to you, like you're trapped in this current of life, pulled along by forces that seem completely out of your control. But what if I told you that this feeling of helplessness is an illusion? The truth is, life doesn't just happen to you, it happens through you. This is one of the fundamental teachings of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When things feel chaotic, when everything around you seems to be spinning out of control, the Stoic response is simple: control what you can. And the first thing you can control is how you respond. Think about that for a second. We can't control what happens to us. Life is filled with unexpected twists, challenges, and moments of uncertainty. But we can control how we react. Every moment is a choice. The way you choose to respond to life's challenges shapes your reality. It's in these moments of reaction that you have the power to define who you are and what kind of life you want to create. The circumstances around you may be beyond your control, but your response to those circumstances is entirely up to you. This realization is liberating. It shifts the power back into your hands. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This resonates with Stoicism because it underscores the idea that our responses shape our path, not the events themselves. Think about it. We all encounter setbacks, we all face stress, loss, and hardship. But what separates those who thrive from those who crumble under pressure is how they choose to respond. The Stoics believed that inner peace and contentment don't come from changing the world around you, they come from changing the way you engage with the world. By choosing to respond with wisdom, patience, and resilience, you reclaim your power and take control of your life. In moments of turmoil, this choice isn't always easy. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending things don't hurt. It's about recognizing that your emotional response is a choice. If you're angry, You don't have to let that anger dictate your actions. If you're anxious, you don't have to let that anxiety control your thoughts. The key is to shift your perspective. Instead of reacting automatically, take a moment to pause and choose how you want to respond. The Stoics called this practice of mindfulness. They knew that by focusing on our reactions, we could transform even the toughest situations into opportunities for growth. Think about the last time you felt out of control. How did you react? Were you swept up by the emotions of the moment? Or did you pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligned with your values? If you've ever struggled to find balance in chaotic situations, know that you're not alone. It's human nature to be tossed around by the waves of life, but the power lies in the decision to swim against the current, to stand firm in the face of adversity. Stoicism doesn't promise that life will be easy or free of challenges. What it offers is the ability to remain grounded, no matter how rough the storm. One of the core practices of Stoicism is recognizing that you are the architect of your own experience. Every situation is an opportunity to build your character. When things go wrong, it's easy to blame the external world, the people, the circumstances, the events that seem beyond your control. But the Stoics would ask you to look inward first. How can you respond in a way that strengthens your inner peace and integrity? How can you use the challenges you face as a stepping stone for your growth? It's important to realize that even when life seems unfair or overwhelming, your response is always in your hands. You can't change the fact that certain things happen, but you can always choose how to move forward. When we start to take full responsibility for our reactions, we stop being victims of circumstance and start becoming the authors of our own stories. This shift is empowering. It allows us to navigate life's challenges with resilience and clarity. We begin to see obstacles not as threats, but as opportunities to practice the Stoic virtues of courage, wisdom, and self-control. If this all sounds like a lot to take in, it's okay. Stoicism isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice, something that you build over time. Each day you have countless opportunities to practice responding with intention. Whether it's a tough conversation with a friend, a stressful situation at work, or even just the frustrations of daily life, these moments are all invitations to practice. The more you do, the stronger your inner peace becomes. The more you choose how to respond, the less power external events have over you. And here's where the true power of Stoicism lies. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Every time you choose a measured response over a knee-jerk reaction, you build your inner strength. You cultivate resilience in a way that transforms your entire outlook on life. Stoicism teaches that joy and fulfillment don't come from perfect circumstances. They come from your ability to find peace in the midst of them. When you stop seeing life as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something that happens through you, everything changes. Life is no longer something you endure passively. It's something you actively engage with, something you shape with every thought, every choice, every action. It's in this space of active engagement with life that true empowerment is found. So the next time you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or out of control, remember this. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. You are not a passive observer in your life. You are the author. You are the creator, and with each response, you are shaping your story. The question is, how do you want to respond today? By embracing the Stoic practice of focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of circumstance, and instead, you start living with purpose, clarity, and strength. This shift is the foundation of a joyful, resilient life, and it begins with the simple realization that life doesn't just happen to you, it happens through you. You're standing at the crossroads of your life, and the path ahead feels overwhelming. The noise, the demands, the pressures, they all pile on, threatening to drown you. You might feel like the weight of the world is pressing down on you, leaving you with a sense of helplessness. It's easy to slip into the belief that life is happening to you, that everything around you is beyond your control. But what if I told you that this feeling of helplessness is nothing more than an illusion? What if I told you that, in reality, you hold the power to shape your experience? The first step toward reclaiming control is realizing this truth. You are the architect of your own experience. Your life, your world, your happiness. Everything you experience begins with how you choose to interpret and respond to the events around you. This idea lies at the very heart of Stoicism, which teaches us that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. The external world may be chaotic, unpredictable, and at times painful. But your internal world, the way you process and react to it, is entirely within your control. Take a moment and think back to the last time you felt overwhelmed, maybe even completely out of control. Was it an argument with someone you care about? A situation at work that made you feel stuck? The weight of too many responsibilities all piling up at once? Now, consider this. What if you had the power to shift the way you responded to those situations? What if the turmoil you felt wasn't caused by the event itself, but by how you reacted to it? In those moments, your thoughts and emotions took the wheel. But what if you had the ability to take back the reins? The truth is, the way you interpret situations shapes how they affect you. It's not the events themselves, but your perception of them that determines how you feel and act. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or pretending that bad things aren't happening. It means focusing on what you can control, your response. In every difficult situation, you always have a choice: how to interpret it, how to act in it, how to manage the emotions it stirs in you. Think of it like a lens through which you see the world. When you choose to respond with patience instead of frustration, with understanding instead of judgment, you are not only changing your experience, but also shaping the very fabric of your reality. The Stoics were masters of this mindset. They understood that the external world would always be unpredictable, often harsh, but they also knew that by practicing self-control, they could shape their inner world. They weren't denying their emotions, they were simply choosing to control them. They were aware that their emotional reactions didn't have to control them. The power lay in their ability to redirect their focus and their energy toward what they could change, their own thoughts and actions. Jung's insight is incredibly powerful because it flips the script. We often think of ourselves as victims of our circumstances, but the truth is that you are the one holding the pen. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about taking responsibility for how you react to life's inevitable challenges. Whether it's a setback at work or a personal conflict, the external event itself may not be under your control, but your thoughts about it are. You are the one who decides whether that situation will define you or strengthen you. This shift is crucial. It doesn't minimize the difficulties you may face, but it empowers you to take command of your experience. The difference between those who feel like life is happening to them and those who feel like they're actively participating in their lives often comes down to this one principle. You have the power to choose your response. Imagine a moment in your life where you felt frustrated or defeated. It might have been an argument or a mistake you made that you couldn't take back. What did you tell yourself in that moment? Did you focus on the pain, the guilt, or the injustice? Or did you take a step back and say, "This situation is out of my control, but how I respond to it is in my hands"? It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that circumstances dictate how we feel. But the Stoics would argue that your inner experience, your peace, and your emotional stability are not determined by external factors. Rather, They are shaped by how you choose to engage with them. This is the first step toward taking control of your life. When you realize that your thoughts and actions are the key to your experience, a sense of empowerment begins to take root. No matter what comes your way, you can find a way to respond that aligns with your values. This is where the real transformation happens, not when things go perfectly, but when you learn to navigate the storm with calmness and clarity. It's about becoming the kind of person who remains centered, no matter the chaos around you. Let's face it, life isn't easy. Everyone faces challenges, whether it's the pressure of a difficult job, the complexities of relationships, or the weight of personal struggles. But if you can learn to view each of these as an opportunity to practice self-control and resilience, you start to shift from being at the mercy of life to becoming an active participant in your own journey. Remember, you are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are the architect of your own experience. It's your thoughts, your choices, and your responses that shape the life you live. When you choose to see challenges as opportunities to grow, when you choose to respond with grace instead of frustration, you begin to build a life that is not just about surviving, but thriving. But it's not just about reacting well to challenges. It's also about how you direct your energy and attention. The Stoics were known for their practice of mindfulness, of being conscious of their thoughts and focusing only on what they could control. When you spend your energy on things that are beyond your control, you drain yourself, leaving no room for what truly matters. But when you focus your attention on what you can change, your attitude, your actions, your reactions, you become a much more powerful force in your own life. Carl Jung's work on the unconscious also speaks to this concept. He believed that we often project our internal struggles onto the outside world. When we feel out of control, we look for reasons out there that explain our distress. But Jung also taught that the real source of our power lies within. It's not the world that needs to change, it's us. We need to become conscious of our internal world and choose to respond with wisdom and self-awareness. This process takes time. It's easy to fall back into old patterns of reactivity and frustration. But the more you practice focusing on your thoughts and actions, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll find that the things that once rattled you no longer have the same power. You'll begin to develop a sense of inner strength that no external situation can shake. Imagine what life would be like if you woke up every day with this understanding, that your experiences are not determined by the world around you, but by the way you respond to it. How would you approach your day differently? Would you feel more empowered, more at peace, knowing that you have the ability to shape your experience with your thoughts and actions? That's the gift that Stoicism offers, the realization that you are in control, not of the events that happen to you, but of how you interpret them. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can always control your response. And that, ultimately, is what defines the life you live. As you continue on your journey, remember that your experience is yours to shape. You are the architect. And with each thought, each action, you're building the life you want to live. The power to create peace, resilience, and joy is already within you. You just have to choose to embrace it. We've all experienced it, the rush of frustration when someone says something harsh, the irritation when things don't go according to plan, or the disappointment when life doesn't meet our expectations. It can feel like the world is conspiring against us, trying to take away our peace and shake our confidence. In those moments, it's easy to get swept up in the emotional tide, letting external events dictate how we feel and how we act. But here's the truth. Those external events, as frustrating or painful as they might be, don't have the power to steal your peace unless you allow them to. The power to maintain your peace, even in the most turbulent situations, lies not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to respond. This is where Stoicism, with its timeless wisdom, has so much to offer. The Stoics believed that happiness and tranquility don't come from controlling the world around us. They come from controlling our reactions. Life is going to throw challenges our way, but how we face them is what determines our peace. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about it for a second. How often do you let something external, like someone's words or a sudden change of plans, disturb your inner calm? Maybe a colleague criticizes your work, or a friend cancels plans last minute. In those moments, you might feel hurt, frustrated, or even angry. The immediate impulse is to react, to defend yourself, to feel the sting of disappointment or resentment. But here's the thing. None of those external events are the source of your suffering. It's your reaction to them that makes the difference. It's human nature to react emotionally to things outside our control. When someone cuts us off in traffic, or when an event doesn't go the way we expected, it can feel like our peace is being ripped away from us. But in those moments, the Stoic wisdom would ask, how do you want to respond? The truth is, we often give away our power by allowing external events to dictate our emotional state. Every time you get upset by something you can't control, you're letting something outside of you steal your peace. And once you recognize that, you begin to see how much control you actually have over your inner world. Carl Jung once said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." This insight echoes Stoic thinking. When you resist what's happening around you, when you get angry, frustrated, or upset about external events, you only create more mental turmoil. It's like fighting against a current. But when you accept that you can't control the actions of others or the unexpected changes that come your way, you free yourself from the unnecessary struggle. Instead of fighting against reality, you begin to flow with it, responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. The beauty of Stoicism is that it teaches us to focus on what we can control, and that's not the events around us, but how we perceive and respond to them. You might not be able to stop people from criticizing you or control the traffic or make sure every plan works out perfectly, but you can always control how you react. By shifting your focus from what you can't control to what you can control, your thoughts, your attitude, your actions, you start to reclaim your peace. It's not about denying your emotions or pretending to be unaffected by life's challenges. It's about understanding that your emotions don't have to control you. Emotions are natural. They come and go, just like the weather. But you don't have to be swept away by every passing storm. Instead, you can learn to observe your emotions without letting them drive your actions. Imagine a situation where someone criticizes you, or something goes wrong at work. You could easily slip into frustration, anger, or self-doubt. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, you took a step back? What if you recognized that the criticism, the mistake, or the delay didn't have to define your response? What if you could pause, take a breath, and choose how to move forward with composure and clarity? This is the essence of Stoic practice. It's about creating space between stimulus and response, where you can consciously choose how to engage with the world, regardless of what's happening around you. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is virtue through choice. In every moment, you have the opportunity to choose how you will respond to life. You can choose patience instead of frustration, understanding instead of judgment, calm instead of anger. It's not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about realizing that you have the power to choose your emotional reaction, no matter what's going on. This practice of conscious response helps you build a kind of resilience that shields you from the chaos of life, allowing you to remain grounded no matter what comes your way. Now, this isn't always easy. There will be moments when external events truly test your patience, your peace, and your resilience. But the more you practice choosing your responses, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll find that your peace becomes less fragile. It no longer depends on things going perfectly or people behaving the way you expect them to. Instead, your peace is something you nurture from within, a strength that no external event can steal. Think of it this way: every time you allow an external event to steal your peace, you're giving away your power. You're allowing something outside of you, whether it's a person, a situation, or a disappointment, to dictate how you feel. But every time you take a step back and choose how to respond, you're reclaiming that power. You're becoming the master of your own emotional state, instead of being a puppet to the whims of the world around you. The more you practice this, the stronger your peace becomes. It's like building muscle. At first, it's challenging. You might slip up. You might still find yourself getting angry or upset when things don't go as planned. But with time, you'll get better at it. You'll start to notice the moments when external events start to unsettle you, and you'll develop the strength to choose a more thoughtful, measured response. Over time, you'll find that your inner peace isn't dependent on the world around you, but on how you choose to engage with it. The Stoics didn't believe that you could control everything that happens to you. They knew life was unpredictable, full of unexpected challenges and difficulties. But what they also knew was that you could control your response. In every moment of chaos, there's an opportunity to practice Stoic virtue: patience, resilience, understanding. These are the tools you can use to remain steady when everything around you seems to be falling apart. And the more you use these tools, the stronger your peace becomes, until it's unshakable, no matter what life throws your way. So, the next time something happens that threatens your peace, whether it's a harsh comment, a delay, or an unexpected change, remind yourself, it's not the event that steals my peace. It's how I choose to respond to it. Life is full of surprises, but you don't have to be swept away by them. You can remain calm, centered, and resilient, knowing that you have the power to choose your response. By doing so, you reclaim your peace and, ultimately, your happiness. The world will always throw challenges at you, but your response doesn't have to be one of stress, frustration, or defeat. It can be a response rooted in understanding, in patience, in control. And that's where your true strength lies. Peace isn't something that's granted by the world. It's something you create from within. The more you practice this, the more you'll find that nothing, no external event, can ever take your peace again. It's yours to keep, and it all starts with how you choose to respond. How many times have you found yourself dwelling on the past, replaying mistakes, regrets, or missed opportunities over and over again in your mind? Or how often do you find yourself paralyzed by anxiety, fearing what might happen tomorrow or next year, unsure of how things will unfold? It's all too common. We're constantly pulled between the past and the future, consumed by what has already happened or what hasn't even arrived yet. But here's the thing, neither of those things are truly within our control. The only moment we can truly grasp is right now, and that's where the power of Stoicism comes in. The Stoics believed that embracing the present moment is the key to inner peace and fulfillment. Imagine waking up tomorrow and instead of letting your mind race with worry about everything you think you should be doing or feeling burdened by the weight of past mistakes, you choose to simply be in the moment. You embrace the now, accepting that this is the only time that's real. It's easy to get lost in the fog of past regrets and future fears, but Stoicism teaches us that the present moment is all we truly have. It's not always easy to embrace the present. We live in a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, asking us to look backward or forward. In the past, we're often consumed by what we could have done differently, by opportunities lost. The future, on the other hand, is a never-ending source of anxiety, with endless what-ifs and fear of the unknown. But when we allow ourselves to get caught up in either one of these places, we miss out on what's happening right before us. We lose the opportunity to engage fully with life as it is happening, and that's the most precious thing we can do for ourselves, to engage in the present without regret or anxiety clouding our minds. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And who you truly are isn't defined by past actions or future expectations. Who you truly are is defined by how you show up in the present moment. It's in this moment right here that you have the ability to live with intention, to choose how you respond to life, and to make decisions aligned with your values. The past is gone, the future is yet to come. The present is where your power lies." Think about the moments when you've truly felt alive. More often than not, they're moments when you were fully immersed in what was happening right then. Maybe it was a conversation with a friend where you weren't thinking about anything else, just listening and being present. Or perhaps it was a moment in nature when the beauty around you stopped you in your tracks, and you were just there, experiencing it without distraction. These are the moments that define our lives, the ones where we drop the weight of the past and the worry of the future and simply be. When we practice mindfulness, we start to cultivate this ability to stay grounded in the present. It's not about forcing yourself to push away thoughts of the past or the future, but rather allowing yourself to fully experience whatever is happening in the moment. Whether it's joy or frustration, it's all part of the human experience, and embracing it means we're not fighting against life. We're moving with it. It's a powerful shift when you realize that every moment is a gift, even the difficult ones. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is the idea of focusing on what we can control. We can't control the past. It's done. We can't control the future. It hasn't happened yet. But we can control how we engage with the present moment. When you embrace the present, you stop wasting energy on things beyond your control. The Stoics believed that peace of mind comes when we let go of the need to control everything outside ourselves and focus on what's happening right in front of us. When we stop fighting against reality, we free ourselves to fully experience life as it is. It's easy to get lost in the idea of should have or could have. If only we had made different choices in the past, maybe life would be different. Or if only the future was more certain, maybe we would feel less anxious. But none of this matters when you realize that the only thing you can truly control is what you do right now. When you start focusing on the present moment, you let go of regret and anxiety. You stop clinging to what could have been or what might be, and you start embracing what is. This doesn't mean that the past or the future are irrelevant. In fact, the Stoics believed that reflecting on the past can offer valuable lessons, and planning for the future is essential for growth. But those things should never steal your attention from the present. When you look at the past, do so with wisdom, learning from it, not dwelling on it. When you look to the future, do so with intention, but never lose sight of the fact that the only time you truly have is right now. Consider a moment in your life when you were so deeply involved in something that time seemed to stand still. Maybe it was a creative project, a meaningful conversation, or an experience that filled you with joy. In those moments, you were not concerned about what had already happened or what was yet to come. You were just there, living fully in the moment. That's the power of being present. You're not waiting for life to start. You're living it as it unfolds. By practicing mindfulness, we train our minds to stay anchored in the present. This doesn't mean we ignore the past or future. It means we acknowledge them without allowing them to dominate our thoughts. It's about letting go of the mental clutter that keeps us from experiencing life fully. And it's in this space, this present moment, where real transformation happens. When we engage with the here and now, we start to show up for ourselves in a way that creates lasting change. We begin to make decisions based on our values, not on what we wish had happened or what we fear might happen. Embracing the present moment doesn't just give us peace, it allows us to live with more purpose. The more we practice staying in the present, the more we begin to understand that this moment, no matter how small or ordinary, is the key to everything. The Stoics believed that every moment was an opportunity to practice virtue. They didn't wait for perfect conditions to start living with integrity, patience, or courage. They embraced every moment as an opportunity to act with virtue, and so can we. So how can you begin to embrace the present moment more fully? Start small. The next time you catch yourself lost in thought, whether it's regretting something in the past or worrying about what's to come, take a deep breath. Ground yourself in the here and now. Notice what's happening around you. Feel the texture of your clothes, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds outside. It's in these small moments that life is unfolding, and when you engage with them, you start to create a life of true presence and peace. The more you embrace the present, the more you'll realize that this is where your power lies. You can't change the past, you can't predict the future, but you can shape how you live in the present. And that's where real freedom lies. Freedom from regret, freedom from anxiety, and freedom to live fully and completely. The only time you ever truly have is now. Make it count. There's a strange power that comes with accepting reality as it is, even when life doesn't unfold the way we want it to. We live in a world where we are constantly told that we can change anything, that we have the power to shape our future, our relationships, our success. And while that's true in many ways, there's a catch to it. We can't control everything. In fact, there are many things in life that are simply beyond our control, no matter how hard we try to manipulate, resist, or change them. And yet, the key to true peace often lies not in fighting against these things, but in accepting them for what they are. This is where the Stoics really shine. One of the core principles of Stoic philosophy is the idea of accepting what we cannot change. The Stoics didn't teach us to sit back and passively accept suffering or injustice. Instead, they encouraged us to accept that some things are outside our influence, and by doing so, we free ourselves from the constant struggle against them. It's not about giving up. It's about recognizing the limits of our control and learning to find peace within those limits. Think about the things in your life that you've been struggling against. Maybe it's a person you can't change, a situation that you wish were different, or a challenge that feels insurmountable. The more you fight against these things, the more energy you waste, and the more frustrated and powerless you become. But when you accept that some things cannot be changed, you release that tension. You stop fighting against the inevitable, and instead, you create space to move forward in a way that is peaceful and productive. This doesn't mean resigning yourself to mediocrity or settling for less than you deserve. Acceptance isn't about giving up or lowering your standards. It's about acknowledging reality for what it is and finding a way to work with it, not against it. When you accept something as unchangeable, you stop seeing it as a barrier and start seeing it as a part of your journey, a part of your experience that you can choose how to relate to. You begin to see obstacles not as threats, but as opportunities to practice resilience, patience, and wisdom. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." This speaks directly to the power of acceptance. When we resist something, we give it power over us. We become consumed by it, and it continues to dominate our thoughts, emotions, and actions. But when we accept it, when we acknowledge it without judgment or resistance, we take away its power. We no longer allow it to control us. Instead, we control how we respond. We free ourselves from the constant battle, and in doing so, we create space for peace and growth. Acceptance doesn't mean complacency. It doesn't mean we should stop trying to improve ourselves, our circumstances, or the world around us. It simply means that we stop fighting against things that are beyond our control. It's about finding balance between effort and surrender. We do what we can to change the things that are within our power, and we let go of the things that are not. In this way, we conserve our energy for what truly matters. We focus on growth, not struggle. You might be wondering, what about the things that hurt? The things that really impact our lives in negative ways? Should we just accept them too? The Stoics would say yes, accept them as part of life's reality. But that doesn't mean we don't act. It doesn't mean we don't feel the pain, the frustration, or the disappointment. What it means is that we stop blaming ourselves, others, or the universe for things we can't change. Instead, we choose how to respond. We choose to learn from the experience, to grow through the pain, and to move forward with strength and wisdom. Acceptance also invites us to recognize the impermanence of all things. Life is constantly changing. Relationships, jobs, health, even our very emotions, they are all temporary. And when we understand this, we begin to see that holding on too tightly to anything can be a source of suffering. We may want to keep things the way they are, but life doesn't work that way. Everything changes, and the more we resist that change, the more we suffer. When we accept the impermanence of life, we learn to flow with it instead of fighting against it. Think about a time in your life when you struggled with something that seemed beyond your control, maybe a setback at work, a personal loss, or a relationship that ended unexpectedly. At first, you might have resisted the change, holding on tightly to what was. You might have wished things could go back to the way they were, or tried to force a solution that wasn't there. But over time, if you allowed yourself to accept the situation, you likely found that you could move forward with more clarity and peace. Acceptance doesn't mean that the pain goes away, but it allows us to stop fighting it, to stop letting it control us. This is one of the most powerful aspects of Stoic philosophy. It teaches us that suffering often comes from our attachment to things, to outcomes, to people, and to expectations. When we let go of these attachments, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes with them. We learn to embrace life as it is, without resistance. In doing so, we open ourselves up to the peace and freedom that acceptance brings. Now, let's talk about how we can practice this acceptance in our everyday lives. It starts with becoming aware of the things that trigger resistance in us. What are the situations or people that cause you the most stress or frustration? Take a moment to reflect on them. Are they things you can control? Or are they things that you've been struggling against, hoping that they'll change, even though they're beyond your power? The first step toward acceptance is awareness. Once you recognize what you're resisting, you can make a conscious choice to let go of the struggle and focus on what you can control. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop setting goals or striving for better. It means that you approach life with a sense of calm and clarity, knowing that some things are simply out of your hands. And when you accept that, you stop wasting energy on them. You stop holding on to the things that cause you pain and frustration, and instead, you focus on how you respond. You focus on your own growth, your own resilience, and your own peace. The more you practice acceptance, the easier it becomes. You'll begin to notice when you're resisting something that's beyond your control, and you'll have the tools to let go of that resistance. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes to accept the things you cannot change, and the more peace you'll find in the process. This doesn't mean life will always be easy. It means you'll be better equipped to handle whatever comes your way with grace and strength. Acceptance is the foundation of inner peace. When you stop fighting against what is, you stop exhausting yourself in a battle that will never be won. You can't control everything, but you can control how you respond. And in that response lies your true power. Embrace what you cannot change, and you'll find the freedom to focus on what you can. Let go of the struggle, and you'll discover the peace that comes from living with acceptance. There's a lot in life that feels completely out of our hands. The weather can turn stormy without warning. People can act in ways that hurt us, frustrate us, or confuse us. The past, with all its choices and consequences, can loom over us like an unshakable shadow. And yet, if we're being honest, how often do we find ourselves consumed by these things? We get caught in the cycle of worrying about what we can't control, as if by stressing over them, we might somehow change their course. But the more energy we pour into these uncontrollable aspects of life, the more drained and disempowered we become. Here's where the wisdom of Stoicism can transform everything. It teaches us a simple yet life-changing principle: focus only on what you can control. It's an empowering rule, because once you start applying it, you immediately shift your focus away from the things that drain you and towards what actually moves you forward. You can't change the weather, the behavior of others, or the past, but what you can control is your own thoughts, your reactions, and the actions you take in the present moment. That's where your power lies. It's in your response, not in the circumstances. Think about it. How much time have you spent feeling frustrated or defeated over things that you simply cannot change? Maybe it's a person who repeatedly lets you down. Maybe it's a situation that seems unfair, no matter how hard you try to fix it. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that these things define us, that they control how we feel, how we react, and ultimately how we live. But the Stoics would challenge that. They believed that it's not the world around us that shapes us, but how we respond to it. They asked us to question where we're putting our energy. Are we focusing on the things we can't control, or are we investing our time and thoughts into what we can change? It's not about ignoring the reality of external circumstances. Life will always present challenges, difficulties, and obstacles. But by focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our attitudes, we stop giving away our power. Instead, we align ourselves with a force that can shape our destiny, our own mindset. The Stoics understood that while the world around them could be chaotic, their internal world could be calm. They could choose to be mindful of their reactions, to act with wisdom, and to respond with integrity, no matter what life threw at them. Let's consider something as simple as a bad day at work. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, or a colleague criticized your work unfairly. It's easy to get caught up in the negative emotions that come with these situations. You might replay the event in your mind, get upset, or even carry that frustration into other areas of your life. But here's the key. Your emotional reaction is in your control. You can choose whether to be consumed by the situation or to take a step back and view it through a lens of understanding and growth. The Stoics would have you ask yourself, what's in my control here? You can't control your colleague's behavior, nor can you change the outcome of that project. But you can control how you respond. You can decide to learn from the situation, to focus on improving, and to let go of the frustration that serves no purpose. By doing so, you not only regain your sense of peace, but you also align yourself with the kind of mindset that will allow you to handle future challenges with grace. What does focusing on what you can control look like in everyday life? It's about making conscious decisions in the moment, even when external circumstances aren't ideal. It's about recognizing that you can't control the actions of others, but you can control how you react to them. It's about taking responsibility for your own mindset, rather than blaming your environment for your stress or unhappiness. When you start to internalize this principle, your life shifts. Instead of feeling like a passive participant, you become an active creator of your experience. It's liberating, isn't it? Realizing that your peace doesn't depend on external factors, but on how you engage with them. The Stoics didn't say that you should ignore or suppress your emotions. They understood that emotions are part of the human experience. What they emphasized was the idea that you have the ability to choose how to respond to those emotions. If you find yourself angry, frustrated, or upset, it's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a reminder that you can take a moment to pause, to reflect, and to decide how you want to react. This also ties back to the idea of living with purpose. When you focus on what you can control, you stop wasting time and energy on things that are out of your hands. Instead of fretting about what others think or what the future holds, you begin to invest that energy into creating the life you want. You focus on the things that matter most to you: your relationships, your personal growth, your work, your well-being. You stop letting external events dictate your mood, and instead, you decide where to direct your energy and focus. Let's be clear, focusing on what you can control doesn't mean you become indifferent to the world around you. It doesn't mean that you stop caring or that you give up on trying to make the world a better place. It means that you stop wasting your energy on things that are beyond your influence and start using that energy to shape the things that are in your hands. You shift from a reactive mindset to a proactive one. You stop being at the mercy of life and start taking charge of your own response. Think about it in terms of your daily choices. Do you focus on what's within your control, or do you get swept up in things you can't change? When you focus on your thoughts, actions, and responses, you'll notice a shift in how you experience life. You'll find that you waste less time on frustration and regret. You'll start to build a life that's aligned with your values because you're no longer distracted by things outside your control. Instead of allowing the ups and downs of life to dictate your emotional state, you take charge and respond with clarity and intention. This concept is incredibly liberating because it allows you to step outside of the endless cycle of blame and frustration. You no longer feel powerless in the face of external circumstances. Instead, you realize that your true power lies within you, within your ability to choose your thoughts, your actions, and your response. By focusing on what you can control, you unlock the power to shape your reality in a way that's purposeful and fulfilling. In practical terms, focusing only on what you can control might look like this. The next time something goes wrong, instead of reacting with frustration or anger, take a moment to pause and assess what's within your power. What can you learn from the situation? How can you adjust your response to make it constructive? The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes to focus on the things you can influence, leaving behind the stress of trying to control the uncontrollable. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its simplicity. When we align our energy with what we can control, we stop wasting time on things that only drain us. We stop giving away our power to things that don't matter. Instead, we take back control of our lives and focus on what truly matters, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. And in doing so, we begin to build a life that's not only purposeful, but peaceful, empowered by the choices we make in the here and now. When you focus on what you can control, you step into the life you were always meant to live. We live in a world that constantly reminds us of what we don't have, what we need, or what we should be pursuing. Whether it's the latest gadget, a relationship, or the perfect career, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that happiness is something that can be attained by acquiring or holding on to something outside ourselves. The message is clear. If you just have this one thing, or if you could just keep this person, or if you could just achieve this goal, then you'll finally feel complete. But the truth is, this belief keeps us trapped. It creates an endless cycle of wanting, of striving, and of attaching our happiness to things that are not only temporary, but often beyond our control. And it's in this cycle that Stoicism offers a profound lesson. True freedom and peace come from letting go of attachments. This is not a call to stop caring, to stop loving, or to stop trying. Stoicism doesn't ask us to become indifferent to life or to shut ourselves off from the world around us. Rather, it teaches us to acknowledge that everything, whether it's a possession, a person, or even an idea, comes with a certain level of impermanence. What the Stoics remind us of is this: when we tie our happiness to anything outside ourselves, we give that thing the power to dictate our emotional state. And the moment it changes, or we lose it, we find ourselves adrift, struggling to reclaim a sense of inner peace. Take a moment and think about your life. What are the things, the people, the achievements that you feel you absolutely need in order to be happy? Maybe it's the perfect partner, or a specific career milestone, or a certain financial status. Now ask yourself, if those things were suddenly taken away, how would you feel? Would your happiness disappear with them? The answer is likely yes, because we often tie our happiness to these things. We convince ourselves that we need them in order to feel complete. But here's the catch. Nothing in life is guaranteed. People leave, possessions break or get lost, and even our careers can change in an instant. When we attach our happiness to external things, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. The Stoics had a simple but powerful insight. What we have is enough. Seneca believed that true wealth doesn't come from accumulating more things, but from learning to be content with what we already have. When we can let go of our attachment to things, we stop living in the future or the past, and we begin to live in the present moment. We stop waiting for something to happen to feel fulfilled and start appreciating what's right in front of us. We begin to cultivate gratitude for the things we do have, rather than constantly yearning for more. And in doing so, we find a deeper sense of contentment that doesn't rely on external circumstances. Let's think about relationships for a moment. In a world where we're encouraged to chase after love, friendship, and validation, it's easy to fall into the trap of attaching our happiness to others. When we place our happiness in the hands of other people, whether it's a partner, a friend, or even a family member, we put ourselves in a vulnerable position. People change, relationships evolve, and sometimes, despite our best efforts, we lose connection. When we are attached to someone for our happiness, we give that person power over our emotional state. But Stoicism teaches us that we must cultivate happiness and peace from within. This doesn't mean we stop loving people. In fact, the Stoics valued relationships highly, but they understood that we must learn to love without being dependent on others for our sense of self-worth. What happens when we practice non-attachment in relationships? We create space for healthier, more balanced connections. We stop demanding that others fill a hole inside us, and instead, we engage with them freely, from a place of wholeness. This is the kind of love that is unconditional, the kind that doesn't waver when things get difficult or uncertain. It's the love that is rooted in respect and appreciation, rather than in neediness or fear of loss. When we let go of the need for approval or validation from others, we become free to love without expectation. This is the true meaning of freedom in relationships. Freedom from the attachment to outcomes and the ability to engage fully in the moment. When it comes to possessions, the idea of attachment is just as relevant. How many times have we convinced ourselves that we need a specific item to feel complete or to improve our lives? Maybe it's a designer bag, a brand new car, or the latest technology. While there's nothing wrong with enjoying these things, it becomes a problem when we attach our happiness to them. We start to believe that owning or acquiring certain things will somehow fulfill us, only to find that once we have them, the satisfaction is fleeting. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't argue against owning things. They simply emphasized that things should never be the source of our happiness. Instead, happiness comes from our character, our wisdom, and our ability to live in accordance with our values. By practicing non-attachment to material possessions, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of consumption. We stop chasing after the next big thing, and instead, we focus on the things that truly matter. We learn to appreciate what we already have, whether it's a simple meal, a comfortable home, or the ability to walk outside and enjoy nature. When we let go of our attachment to things, we cultivate a sense of contentment and peace that no material possession can provide. Letting go of attachment is ultimately about recognizing the impermanence of life. Everything in this world is temporary, from the things we own to the people we love. The moment we accept this truth, we begin to understand that attachment to anything outside ourselves is a form of suffering. We create expectations and projections onto people and possessions, and when those things inevitably change, we experience pain. But when we let go of our attachment, we free ourselves from this cycle of suffering. We start to live with a sense of peace, knowing that everything is temporary and that our happiness comes from within, not from the outside world. So, how can we begin to practice letting go of attachments? Start by taking a closer look at what you're attached to. What are the things, the people, or the ideas that you feel define your happiness? Take a moment to reflect on these attachments and ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't have this? Would I still be okay? The more you reflect on this, the more you begin to realize that your happiness isn't tied to any one thing. You can cultivate peace and contentment in the present moment without depending on external circumstances. Letting go of attachment is a practice. It takes time, patience, and self-awareness. But as you practice, you'll start to feel lighter. You'll stop carrying the weight of wanting, needing, or fearing loss. Instead, you'll embrace the freedom that comes from living in the present, appreciating what you have, and accepting that nothing lasts forever. By doing so, you open yourself to a deeper sense of joy and fulfillment that comes from within, and that no external force can ever take from you. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes when we stop tying our happiness to the outside world. When we let go of attachment, we stop relying on things that are beyond our control and begin to cultivate a sense of inner peace. This is where true happiness lies, not in what we possess, but in who we are. Let go of attachments, and you'll find the freedom to live a life of purpose, clarity, and joy. Life isn't always smooth sailing. It's filled with bumps, twists, and turns that can catch us off guard and knock us off course. We've all been there, moments when we face challenges that feel insurmountable, situations that seem unfair, or obstacles that appear to be blocking our path. It's easy in these times to feel frustrated, defeated, or powerless. The natural response is to see these struggles as roadblocks, as something that stands in our way and prevents us from moving forward. But what if we reframed these difficulties? What if, instead of seeing adversity as something to avoid or fear, we viewed it as an opportunity? This is exactly what Stoicism teaches us. Adversity is not an obstacle to our happiness or success. It's a chance to practice virtue and grow stronger. Imagine for a moment approaching every difficult situation with the mindset that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. The Stoics were masters at rethinking hardship, seeing it not as something to resist, but as a chance to develop important qualities like patience, resilience, and gratitude. They believed that life's challenges aren't just inconveniences, they are the raw material from which we can shape our character. Each difficulty we face is an opportunity to cultivate a better version of ourselves. So instead of resisting, they taught us to embrace these moments with the understanding that they are moments of growth. When you stop viewing challenges as personal attacks or roadblocks to your happiness and start seeing them as opportunities to practice virtue, something incredible happens. You free yourself from the emotional weight of the situation. You realize that no matter what life throws your way, you have the power to control your response. And that, in itself, is the ultimate freedom. Think about the times in your life when you faced difficult situations. Maybe it was a job loss, the end of a relationship, or a personal failure. It's easy to look at these as negative experiences. They may have hurt, caused anxiety, or brought feelings of frustration. But when you shift your perspective, you start to realize that these struggles offered you something valuable. They offered you the chance to build resilience, to become more patient with yourself and others, and to practice the art of acceptance. Instead of focusing on the injustice of the situation or the frustration of not getting what you want, you can focus on what you can learn from it and how you can rise above it. It's all about reframing the situation. When we face adversity, it's easy to get stuck in the victim mentality, feeling that life is happening to us and there's nothing we can do about it. But the Stoics remind us that this is a disempowered perspective. Life doesn't just happen to us, it happens through us. How we choose to see adversity makes all the difference. If you can learn to view every challenge as an opportunity to practice virtue, you start to unlock a new way of living. You stop seeing yourself as powerless and start recognizing your own ability to turn difficult moments into sources of strength. Take patience, for example. When things aren't going the way you want them to, it's easy to get frustrated. You may feel rushed, impatient, or irritated. But what if you shifted your focus? Instead of getting upset, what if you saw this moment of waiting as an opportunity to practice patience? Instead of feeling like the universe is working against you, you can embrace the opportunity to pause, reflect, and cultivate calm. The Stoics believed that patience isn't something that happens automatically. It's something we must practice, and adversity gives us the perfect opportunity to do so. Resilience is another virtue that adversity provides us the chance to build. Life often throws curveballs, and not everything goes according to plan. When things fall apart, it's easy to feel hopeless or defeated. But the Stoics knew that our ability to bounce back from difficulty is what ultimately strengthens us. Resilience doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from confronting them head-on and choosing to rise above them. Every difficulty we face is a chance to become more resilient, to learn how to endure, and to come out the other side stronger than before. And then there's gratitude. It may seem strange to be grateful for adversity, but the Stoics understood that hardship often brings with it valuable lessons. When we face difficulties, we're forced to look at ourselves more deeply. We may discover strengths we never knew we had, or gain a new appreciation for the things we took for granted. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the things that stand in our way, the obstacles, the struggles, the challenges, are often the very things that lead us to growth. They shape us, refine us, and help us become more grounded in what truly matters. But here's the real power in reframing adversity. It doesn't just make you stronger in the moment, it transforms your entire relationship with life. Instead of constantly fearing the next setback, you begin to embrace it. You stop seeing difficulty as something that should be avoided and start seeing it as something that can help you grow. The more you practice this mindset, the more you become free from the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, and the fear of the unknown. Instead of shrinking from challenges, you begin to welcome them, knowing that each one is an opportunity to practice virtue and to build a life that is full of purpose and inner peace. It's not about being fearless. It's not about pretending that difficulties don't hurt. What the Stoics teach us is that we can't always avoid the pain that life brings, but we can choose how we respond to it. The adversity in your life doesn't have to be an obstacle. It can be the key to unlocking your fullest potential. Every time you face a challenge, you get the opportunity to practice patience, resilience, and gratitude. You get to redefine what strength means to you, and you get to decide whether you'll let life's difficulties break you or build you. And that's where the real freedom lies. When you reframe adversity as an opportunity, you stop being a passive participant in your life. You stop waiting for things to get better or for your circumstances to change. Instead, you take ownership of your experience, recognizing that you have the power to choose how you respond to whatever life throws your way. The Stoics knew that adversity is inevitable, but they also knew that our response to it is what defines us. When we choose to see every struggle as a chance to grow, we unlock a deeper level of peace and strength. So the next time life challenges you, remember, this is your opportunity to practice virtue, to build resilience, and to find inner peace amidst the chaos. Imagine this. You're going about your day, everything seems fine, but then, out of nowhere, you start feeling uneasy. A sudden anxiety creeps in, and you can't quite pinpoint why. You think about the future, about what could go wrong, about the things you're afraid of losing. This is the fear that grips us all at some point, a fear of the unknown, the fear of what might happen, the fear of loss. It's natural, right? But what if I told you that embracing that fear, even just for a moment, could actually make it easier to handle when it comes? What if I told you that the practice of imagining the worst-case scenario might be the key to freeing yourself from that fear? This practice is known as negative visualization, and though it may sound counterintuitive, it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to build resilience and peace of mind. The Stoics were big proponents of this technique, and for good reason. They understood that life is unpredictable, and rather than waiting for the other shoe to drop, we should mentally prepare ourselves for what might go wrong. This isn't about dwelling on negative thoughts or feeding into pessimism. It's about taking a step back and calmly acknowledging that bad things can happen. It's about accepting that loss, failure, or hardship are all a part of life, and that we can face them with strength and clarity when they arise. The Stoics believed that the fear of loss is often worse than the loss itself. When we avoid thinking about what could go wrong, we create a sense of vulnerability because we've never really prepared ourselves for those possibilities. But when we engage with the fear directly, when we mentally rehearse the worst-case scenario, we learn to face it with composure rather than fear. Let's break this down. Negative visualization isn't about focusing on the negative for the sake of being negative. It's a practice of preparing yourself emotionally for the things you can't control. For example, consider a relationship. Think about the possibility of losing that person, whether through an argument, a separation, or a death. Of course, this is a painful thought. But by mentally preparing for it, you're doing two things. First, you're acknowledging that life is fragile and loss is inevitable. Second, you're taking away the emotional charge of the situation. If and when that loss happens, it won't be as overwhelming because you've already accepted the possibility of it in your mind. You're not blindsided by the emotional turmoil. Instead, you approach the situation with clarity and strength, because you've already done the work of facing that fear head-on. Now, this doesn't mean that you'll be cold or detached. On the contrary, negative visualization can make you more present with the people and experiences that matter most. It cultivates gratitude because it forces you to acknowledge the impermanence of everything in life. When you imagine the possibility of losing something or someone you cherish, you begin to see just how much it truly means to you. This practice encourages you to appreciate what you have right now, instead of taking it for granted or waiting for something terrible to remind you of its value. It's easy to get caught up in a mindset where we take things for granted. We assume that the good things in our lives will always be there. But when you practice negative visualization, you're reminded that everything is fleeting. This realization doesn't make you feel helpless or sad. It empowers you to make the most of the present moment. You start living with intention, not because you're trying to avoid loss, but because you understand how valuable and temporary life's joys really are. Take a moment and think about something in your life that you cherish deeply. Maybe it's your health, a job you love, or a close friendship. Now imagine, just for a moment, that you might lose that thing. Think about the void it would leave, the impact it would have on your life. You don't have to dwell on it or make it an obsession, but by mentally rehearsing that possibility, you begin to appreciate what you have now with a deeper sense of gratitude. You stop waiting for disaster to strike to recognize the beauty of your current reality. Instead, you are aware of how precious it is, and this awareness leads to a fuller, more vibrant experience of life. Another powerful aspect of negative visualization is that it helps you to overcome the fear of future setbacks. We often fear what we don't know, whether it's failure in our career, health challenges, or personal loss. We fear that we won't be able to handle it when it comes. But the Stoic practice of negative visualization helps to ease this fear by preparing us for the worst. By mentally running through these scenarios, we learn that we're capable of facing them. We gain confidence not because we've avoided the difficulties of life, but because we've confronted them and realized that we can endure. We become stronger, more resilient, and more grounded in the knowledge that we can handle whatever comes our way. It's also important to note that negative visualization isn't a technique to encourage passivity or to dwell in sadness. It's not about predicting doom and gloom. In fact, it can have the opposite effect. When we practice negative visualization, we come to terms with the idea that we cannot control the future. But this realization doesn't leave us helpless. It frees us. It shifts our mindset from one of constant worry to one of peaceful acceptance. We can't control everything, but we can control how we respond, and that's where our power lies. The more we accept that we cannot control every aspect of life, the more we can appreciate the present and take meaningful action in the now. In this way, negative visualization is about balance. It helps us prepare for challenges without being consumed by them. It teaches us to embrace what's truly important, to let go of the fear of loss, and to take action in alignment with our values. We're not trying to anticipate every bad thing that could happen. We're simply preparing ourselves to handle life's inevitable difficulties with grace and clarity. When we do this, we can face life's challenges, not with dread, but with a sense of resolve, knowing that we are capable of managing whatever comes our way. So, how do you begin practicing negative visualization? Start small. You don't need to dwell on the worst-case scenario for hours. Instead, take a few minutes each day to imagine the potential losses you might face. Think about the things or people you fear losing. Acknowledge the emotions that arise. But then, shift your focus. After you've imagined the loss, think about how you would respond. Visualize yourself handling the situation with resilience, understanding, and acceptance. This mental exercise builds emotional endurance, fortifying you for the future and allowing you to move through life with a greater sense of peace. Negative visualization can feel strange at first. It may seem unnatural to actively think about what you don't want to happen, but the more you practice it, the more you'll realize that it's not about dwelling on negativity. It's about freeing yourself from fear. By accepting the possibility of loss, you take away its power over you. You no longer fear what you can't control because you've already prepared yourself to face it. And in doing so, you build a life that's more resilient, more grateful, and more at peace with the uncertainty of life. In a world that constantly tells us we need more success, more possessions, more status, it can be easy to forget that happiness isn't something we find by acquiring more things. The pursuit of more often leaves us feeling empty, as if we're always chasing something just out of reach. But what if I told you that the key to a fuller, more joyful life doesn't lie in getting more, but in appreciating what you already have? Gratitude, in its simplest form, has the power to shift your perspective and, in doing so, transform your life. It's easy to overlook, but when practiced consistently, gratitude can become one of the most powerful tools in your emotional toolkit. In the busyness of life, we often find ourselves caught up in what we don't have, what we're missing, or what we're working toward. There's a subtle pressure to always be striving for the next best thing, whether it's a bigger house, a higher-paying job, or the perfect relationship. But by constantly focusing on what's missing, we inadvertently create a cycle of dissatisfaction. We think that happiness lies just ahead, that if we can just get the next thing, we'll be content. And yet, when we finally reach that goal, there's always another one to chase. The pursuit never ends, and with it, so does our contentment. The Stoics, in contrast, understood the immense power of focusing on what we already have. They believed that true contentment comes not from acquiring more, but from appreciating the abundance in our lives right now. The practice of gratitude can be as simple as pausing for a moment each day to acknowledge the good things in your life. Instead of focusing on what you're missing, take stock of what you already have. This could be the support of a loving family, a job that provides for your needs, or even something as simple as the ability to walk outside and breathe fresh air. The act of recognizing these things, of taking the time to appreciate them, shifts your focus from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. You begin to see the richness of your life, not because it's perfect, but because you're choosing to focus on what's already present. The beauty of gratitude lies in its simplicity. You don't need to wait for something grand to happen to feel grateful. In fact, gratitude doesn't require any special circumstances. It's a practice you can incorporate into your life every day, regardless of how things are going. And when you practice gratitude consistently, something remarkable happens. Your entire perspective shifts. You start to feel more content, more at peace with where you are, and more connected to the world around you. It's as if the noise of dissatisfaction quiets, and you begin to hear the quiet hum of appreciation for the present moment. One of the most profound effects of practicing gratitude is that it breaks the cycle of comparison. In our culture, we're constantly measuring ourselves against others, whether it's on social media, in our careers, or even in our personal lives. We look at other people's success, their possessions, their relationships, and we feel like we're falling short. But when we cultivate gratitude, we stop comparing ourselves to others. We stop measuring our worth based on what others have or do. Instead, we turn inward and start recognizing our own value, not in terms of what we lack, but in terms of what we already possess. This doesn't mean that we stop striving for more or that we stop setting goals. It simply means that we stop tying our happiness to external factors. We start to realize that we are enough, exactly as we are, and that our happiness isn't dependent on what we don't have. When we practice gratitude, we also develop a deeper sense of humility. It's easy to take the good things in our lives for granted, to assume that we deserve them or that they will always be there. But gratitude reminds us that the things we have are gifts, not guarantees. It teaches us to recognize the generosity of others, the beauty of life, and the fleeting nature of everything around us. This awareness doesn't make us anxious or fearful. It makes us more appreciative, more aware of the fragility of life, and more determined to savor each moment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." When we wake up with gratitude in our hearts, we start each day with a sense of purpose and appreciation for the simple act of living. Gratitude also helps us build resilience. Life is full of challenges, and it's easy to get bogged down by them. But when we focus on the good, even in difficult times, we develop a mental strength that helps us navigate life's ups and downs with grace. We start to realize that challenges are not roadblocks, but opportunities for growth. When we approach life with a grateful mindset, we are able to face adversity with a sense of calm and clarity. We stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstance and start seeing ourselves as active participants in our own lives, able to adapt and respond with resilience. This doesn't mean that we don't feel pain or frustration when things go wrong. It simply means that we have the emotional resources to cope with those feelings in a healthy way. So, how can you begin to cultivate gratitude in your own life? Start by setting aside a few minutes each day to reflect on what you're grateful for. It could be as simple as writing down 3 things that went well that day, or acknowledging a small act of kindness that made a difference. You can also practice gratitude in your interactions with others by expressing appreciation for the people in your life and the things they do for you. The more you make gratitude a regular practice, the more natural it will become, and the more you'll begin to see the abundance that already exists in your life. You'll find that the simple things, like a smile, a warm meal, or the beauty of nature, are enough to bring you joy. Gratitude is more than just a feeling. It's a way of being. It's a way of approaching life that invites peace, joy, and contentment into your daily experience. By focusing on what you have instead of what you lack, you begin to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. You start to realize that happiness isn't something you have to chase. It's already present in your life, waiting to be noticed. So, take a moment today to appreciate what's right in front of you. Recognize the gifts that you already have, and let gratitude fill your heart. When you do, you'll find that life becomes richer, more fulfilling, and more meaningful. And in that, you'll discover a joy that's lasting and true. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to get caught up in the things around us. We find ourselves attaching our happiness to our careers, relationships, possessions, or the approval of others. We believe that if we just achieve this or attain that, we'll finally feel secure, content, and at peace. But the truth is, these attachments often do the opposite. They create anxiety, stress, and an unending cycle of longing. What if I told you that the key to lasting peace isn't about holding on tighter to these things, but learning to let go? It's the practice of detachment, and it's one of the most profound concepts of Stoic philosophy. Now, detachment doesn't mean being indifferent, cold, or unfeeling. It doesn't mean withdrawing from life or giving up on the things you care about. Instead, it means learning to let go of the need to control or possess things that are outside of your control. It's about freeing yourself from the fear of loss and the emotional roller coaster that comes with attachment. Detachment is the art of finding peace amidst the chaos of life. of being fully engaged and loving without becoming dependent on anything or anyone for your happiness. In many ways, detachment is not about rejecting the world. It's about engaging with it from a place of inner strength and peace. Detachment allows us to love deeply without fear of loss. Think about the people you care about, your family, friends, your partner. It's natural to feel attachment, to want to hold on to these relationships. But the truth is, no matter how much we love someone, we cannot control their actions or predict their future. Life is unpredictable, and attachment to the idea that things will always remain the same can cause immense suffering when change inevitably comes. Detachment doesn't mean loving less. It means loving fully without the fear of losing that person. It means accepting that relationships, like everything else in life, are temporary. The more we try to cling to them, the more we create anxiety. When we let go of the need to possess or control our relationships, we can experience them with freedom and joy. It's not just relationships where we experience this attachment. We often attach our sense of worth to our jobs, our success, or the things we own. In a world that celebrates achievement and accumulation, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our value comes from what we do or what we have. But the Stoics teach us that true peace comes when we learn to detach from these external things. When we tie our identity and sense of self-worth to our job, our possessions, or our social status, we give these things the power to dictate how we feel. The truth is, these external factors can change in an instant. The job you love today might not be there tomorrow. The things you've worked so hard to obtain might be lost. If your happiness is based on these things, what happens when they're no longer there? Detachment allows you to pursue your goals with vigor, but without clinging to them for your sense of worth. You can enjoy your work, love what you do, and feel fulfilled, but you don't depend on it to make you whole. The beauty of detachment is that it allows you to be fully present in life without being overwhelmed by fear of loss. It frees you from the constant need to control and manipulate every situation. It doesn't mean you stop working hard or stop caring about the things that matter to you. Instead, it means you learn to focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your responses, and let go of the rest. It means understanding that while you can make choices and take action, you can't dictate the outcome. By accepting the uncertainty of life and detaching from the outcome, you free yourself from the anxiety that comes from trying to control everything. You allow yourself to take action without being shackled by fear. This is the power of detachment. It helps you find peace in the unknown. The world is full of uncertainties. We can plan, we can work hard, we can strive for our goals, but we cannot predict what will happen. The more we try to control the future, the more we resist the flow of life. The Stoics recognized this and understood that peace comes not from controlling everything, but from accepting the uncertainty of life. When we detach from our need to control the future, we embrace the present moment fully. We stop wasting energy on what might happen and begin to focus on what we can do right now. One of the greatest misconceptions about detachment is that it's a form of emotional numbing or indifference. People often think that to detach means to become cold, unfeeling, or distant, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Detachment is not about withdrawing from life. It's about engaging with life from a place of emotional strength. It's about being able to love fully without fear. It's about being able to pursue your goals without becoming attached to the outcome. It's about being able to experience life with all its ups and downs without losing your sense of peace. By practicing detachment, we develop emotional resilience. We stop reacting to everything around us and start responding with intention, clarity, and inner calm. This is the essence of detachment, recognizing that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. Detachment helps us maintain our emotional equilibrium in the face of uncertainty and change. It allows us to remain grounded, no matter what is happening in the world around us. By learning to detach from things outside our control, we stop being victims of circumstance and instead become masters of our own response. To begin practicing detachment, start by becoming aware of where you're holding on too tightly in your life. Are there relationships, goals, or possessions that you're placing too much value on? Are you letting them dictate how you feel or how you act? Notice when you start feeling anxiety, frustration, or sadness around these things, and ask yourself if they are really worth your emotional investment. Remind yourself that nothing is permanent and that your happiness doesn't need to be tied to the things around you. Practice letting go. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you can love, you can work, you can strive, but without the fear of losing what you have. Detachment also means recognizing the difference between what you can control and what you can't. The Stoics were experts at understanding that their only real power lay in their ability to control their thoughts, actions, and responses. Everything else was outside their control. This simple but powerful distinction can bring immense peace. By learning to detach from the things you can't control, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and anxiety. You stop trying to fix everything and instead focus on living in harmony with the present moment, fully aware of what you can influence and what you must let go of. Detachment allows you to find peace in the midst of chaos. It enables you to pursue your goals and love others without clinging to outcomes or expecting perfection. It teaches you that true peace doesn't come from what you possess or the people around you. It comes from within. By letting go of attachments, you open yourself up to a deeper, more lasting kind of happiness. One that's rooted in the strength of your own mind, the peace of your own heart, and the acceptance of life as it is. In the end, it's not what you have or who you're with that brings you peace. It's how you respond to it all that truly matters. Life is full of discomfort, physical, mental, and emotional. From the physical strain of pushing our bodies during exercise to the emotional discomfort of facing personal fears or difficult situations, we encounter discomfort regularly, and it's so easy to avoid it, to seek out comfort and convenience. But what if I told you that embracing discomfort, rather than running from it, is one of the most powerful tools you have to build resilience? The Stoics, some of the greatest philosophers of all time, knew this truth deeply. They understood that discomfort isn't something to fear, it's something to be embraced. It's the very thing that can strengthen us and prepare us for life's inevitable hardships. We live in a world where comfort is king. We have everything at our fingertips: fast food, smartphones, cozy homes, and instant entertainment. Convenience has become the norm, and it's often tempting to seek comfort at every turn. But here's the reality: living a life dedicated to comfort is a life of stagnation. As tempting as it is to avoid discomfort, it's through the challenges we face, the discomforts we endure, that we grow stronger. When we choose the easy route, when we shy away from discomfort, we miss out on the opportunity to become more resilient. What does it take to become who we truly are? It takes confronting discomfort. It takes stepping outside our comfort zone and embracing the challenges that life throws at us. These challenges, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional, are not obstacles to our happiness. In fact, they are the very things that shape us into stronger, more resilient individuals. Consider the practice of cold showers. At first glance, this may seem like a bizarre or extreme form of discomfort, but Stoics understood that intentionally seeking out discomfort, like taking a cold shower, is a powerful way to build resilience. The cold, the shock to your body, the initial reaction of wanting to flee from it, this is exactly what life does to us sometimes. We face situations that shock us, that are uncomfortable, and that make us want to retreat. But when we choose to stay in the cold water, when we choose to sit with discomfort rather than run from it, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of enduring. This principle extends beyond physical discomfort. Emotional discomfort is another area where Stoicism encourages us to grow. Think about fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of uncertainty. Fear often paralyzes us, stopping us from pursuing our dreams, facing our challenges, or becoming the person we want to be. But what if, instead of avoiding these fears, we decided to face them head-on? The Stoics would tell us to confront them, not run from them. The discomfort we feel when we face our fears is an opportunity to build resilience. By proving to ourselves that we can handle fear, whether by speaking in front of an audience, tackling a difficult conversation, or taking a leap into the unknown, we strengthen our ability to endure future challenges with greater ease. The process of embracing discomfort is not about pushing ourselves to the breaking point, but about training our minds and bodies to handle adversity with grace and composure. This is where Stoicism excels. It teaches us that we are not defined by our comfort or by our avoidance of discomfort, but by our ability to endure hardship and rise above it. The more we practice discomfort, the more resilient we become. This is not just physical endurance, it's mental endurance, emotional endurance, and spiritual endurance. When we face discomfort, we test our limits, and in testing our limits, we expand them. Imagine you're in a difficult situation, maybe a challenging project at work, a difficult conversation with a loved one, or a personal setback that feels overwhelming. In that moment, you could try to avoid the discomfort by making excuses or procrastinating, or you could embrace it. You could dive into the challenge, knowing that on the other side, you'll be stronger. Every time you choose to embrace discomfort, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought possible. You prove to yourself that you have the resilience to face life's challenges head-on. It's important to note that resilience isn't built overnight. It's a gradual process, one that requires consistent effort. Each time you face discomfort, you build a small piece of resilience. Over time, these small pieces add up, and you find that you're capable of handling situations that once would have overwhelmed you. The more you practice embracing discomfort, the more you grow, the stronger you become. This is a lifelong journey, and with each step, you become more unshakable in the face of adversity. It's not the discomfort itself that defines us, it's how we handle it. When we choose to face discomfort with a clear mind and a steady heart, we transform it from something that threatens us into something that strengthens us. We stop being victims of our circumstances and instead become active participants in our own growth. Each uncomfortable moment becomes an opportunity to prove to ourselves that we can handle whatever life throws our way. You might be wondering, but how do I start? It's not about jumping straight into extreme discomfort like taking cold showers or running a marathon tomorrow. It's about making small, intentional choices to face discomfort in your everyday life. Start by doing things that push you outside your comfort zone, even if they're small. It could be something as simple as starting a conversation with a stranger, pushing yourself to complete a task that you've been avoiding, or taking on a new responsibility at work. The point is to start embracing the discomfort that comes with growth, knowing that each time you do, you are building resilience. Over time, you'll find that these small challenges become easier, and you'll be ready to tackle bigger ones with more confidence. Remember, resilience isn't about avoiding hardship or running from discomfort. It's about embracing it and using it as fuel for your growth. Every challenge, every uncomfortable moment is an opportunity to build a stronger, more resilient you. By embracing discomfort, you are training yourself to face the world with a sense of calm and confidence, no matter what comes your way. So, the next time you feel that discomfort creeping in, whether it's physical or emotional, don't shy away from it. Embrace it. Use it as an opportunity to strengthen your resilience and watch as you transform into a person who can handle anything life throws at you. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. We're bombarded by notifications, ads, social media, and an endless stream of entertainment designed to pull our attention in every direction. Instant gratification has become the norm, and the idea of delaying our desires for something more meaningful seems almost foreign. Yet, despite the noise and the constant pressure to indulge in the immediate, there's one powerful tool that stands above it all: self-discipline. Self-discipline is the foundation of Stoic resilience, and it's the key to unlocking your true potential. Without it, we flounder in a sea of distractions, but with it, we tap into a deeper, more purposeful way of living. Self-discipline is not about rigid control or denying yourself every pleasure. Rather, it's about mastering your impulses and staying true to your principles, no matter the circumstances. It's the ability to focus on what truly matters, even when it's easier to choose the path of least resistance. In a world that celebrates ease and convenience, self-discipline becomes a rare and valuable strength. It's the muscle that allows you to resist the pull of short-term desires and instead make decisions that align with your long-term goals and values. But who we truly are is not defined by fleeting moments of pleasure or the distractions that fill our days. It's shaped by the choices we make, by the discipline we apply to our actions, thoughts, and desires. When we practice self-discipline, we actively choose to create the person we want to be, not just in theory, but in daily practice. It's in the moments when we stay focused on our goals, even when it's hard, that we define our character. Self-discipline is not an inherent trait that some people simply have and others don't. It's a skill that can be developed with consistent effort and intention. Just like lifting weights to strengthen your body, practicing self-discipline strengthens your mind. Every time you choose to stay on track, despite distractions, you are exercising your mental muscles. Over time, these small acts of discipline compound, leading to a more focused, determined, and resilient version of yourself. Think of a time when you had a goal in mind, perhaps a fitness goal, a work project, or something you wanted to learn, and you stuck to the plan, even when it was difficult. How did it feel? Likely, it wasn't always easy. There were probably moments when you wanted to give in, when distractions seemed tempting, or when your mind told you that taking a break was okay. But in those moments when you chose to push through, to stay focused and committed, you were building your inner strength. You were developing the very resilience that the Stoics praised. Every choice to stay disciplined reinforces the person you're becoming, a person who can handle life's challenges with calm and determination. The Stoic philosophers understood the immense value of self-discipline. They believed that our ability to govern our own actions and desires was key to mastering our lives. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of self-control in his meditations. He understood that we can't control the world around us, but we can control our reactions. In a sense, self-discipline is about mastering your inner world, even when the outer world seems chaotic or beyond your control. It's about choosing how to respond rather than simply reacting. One of the greatest benefits of self-discipline is that it enables us to remain focused on our values and long-term goals. In a world that's constantly pushing us to conform or chase after fleeting pleasures, staying grounded in our principles is an act of resistance. It's easy to get distracted by what others are doing, to compare ourselves to people on social media, or to get swept up in the latest trends. But true fulfillment doesn't come from outside influences, it comes from within. When you practice self-discipline, you're choosing to stay true to yourself and your values, even when it's not the easiest path to take. Of course, this isn't always easy. There will be times when the temptation to give in is strong, whether it's hitting the snooze button when you should be getting up early to work on your goals, or deciding to watch another episode on Netflix instead of working on that important project. The pull of instant gratification is always there. But each time you resist that pull, you gain a little more control over your life. You prove to yourself that you're capable of making decisions based on what you truly want, rather than giving in to short-term impulses. Self-discipline also plays a crucial role in building resilience. Life is not always easy. We all face challenges, setbacks, and difficult situations. But the more disciplined we are in how we approach life, the more we can handle adversity with grace and calm. When we practice self-discipline, we train ourselves to stay focused even in difficult times. We learn to take consistent action even when the outcome is uncertain, and we develop the resilience to keep going when things get tough. Resilience is built through consistent effort. It's not about never failing, but about getting up each time we do. Every time you choose to stay disciplined, to stay committed to your path, you build mental fortitude. And the more you practice this discipline, the more resilient you become in all areas of your life, whether it's work, relationships, health, or personal growth. You stop letting life's challenges derail you, and instead you learn to face them head-on with a sense of purpose and strength. It's important to note that self-discipline doesn't mean perfection. It's not about being hard on yourself or beating yourself up when you slip up. It's about recognizing when you've gone off course, adjusting and getting back on track. Self-discipline is about progress, not perfection. It's about making better choices today than you did yesterday, and understanding that every step forward, no matter how small, is still progress. In practical terms, self-discipline can look like a lot of different things. It might mean setting a clear goal for yourself and sticking to a plan to achieve it, even when the going gets tough. It could mean making a commitment to yourself, like getting up early every day to work on something that's important to you. Or it could mean cutting out distractions when it's time to focus. The key is that you're making conscious, intentional choices about how you spend your time and energy. Every choice to stay disciplined reinforces your ability to stay focused and aligned with your values. Remember, the goal of self-discipline is not to make life harder for yourself, but to make it easier in the long run. When you learn to say no to the things that don't serve you and yes to the things that align with your goals, you're building a life that's meaningful and fulfilling. Each act of discipline is a step toward the person you want to become. It's not about achieving perfection, but about consistently choosing to grow and improve. And over time, you'll find that these small, disciplined choices compound, leading to profound changes in your life. Self-discipline is the gateway to inner strength. It's the tool that allows you to build the resilience necessary to navigate life's challenges. It's the foundation of Stoic philosophy, and it's the key to living a life of purpose, not driven by distractions, but guided by intentional, focused action. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you are strengthening your mind and character. With each decision, you are crafting a version of yourself that is more focused, more resilient, and more aligned with your true purpose. So, the next time you feel tempted to veer off course, remember that true strength is found not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with discipline, determination, and a clear mind. Reflection is an often overlooked tool in the journey of self-growth. In our fast-paced world, where distractions are constant and the pressure to keep moving is relentless, it's easy to overlook the power of simply pausing to think. Yet the Stoics, those ancient philosophers who lived by a strict code of virtue, saw reflection as one of the cornerstones of personal growth. They didn't just rush through life, reacting to the events of each day without understanding their impact. They took time to reflect, to examine their thoughts, emotions, and actions. This daily habit of reflection was their way of ensuring that they were continually improving, learning, and growing. And it's a tool that we can all benefit from today. Reflection allows us to pause and look at ourselves with clarity. It's not about looking back with regret or harsh judgment. Instead, it's about understanding where we've been, where we are, and where we want to go. The beauty of reflection is that it offers us the opportunity to step outside of ourselves for a moment and view our lives from a more objective perspective. By doing this, we can gain insights into our behaviors, our patterns, and our tendencies. Insights that can help us improve and move forward with more intention. Take a moment to think about the last time something didn't go quite as planned. Perhaps you had a disagreement with someone, missed an important deadline, or didn't act in a way that aligned with your values. It's easy to let those moments pass without much thought, but without reflection, we miss the chance to learn from them. The Stoics would ask, "Why did I react the way I did? How could I have responded differently?" Instead of letting these moments slip away, they turned them into opportunities for growth. Reflection, when done thoughtfully, can help us understand what went wrong and how we can adjust our behavior next time. Every action we take, every word we speak, leaves an impression on the world around us. If we don't take the time to reflect, we risk letting those impressions define us without fully understanding their impact. Reflection is a moment of self-awareness that allows us to course correct before we go too far off track. It helps us identify patterns, whether they're good habits we want to cultivate or negative ones we want to eliminate. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." Reflection gives us the space to choose a better response, one that is in line with our values and goals. It's easy to assume that we can just keep pushing forward without looking back, thinking that the past is behind us and there's no need to revisit it. But in truth, it's often in the moments of stillness, when we stop and reflect, that we uncover the most valuable lessons. Imagine if, after a challenging day, you took 5 minutes just to reflect on what happened. Instead of moving straight into the next task or distraction, you allow yourself to sit with your thoughts and examine your actions, your feelings, and your mindset. What would you learn? What patterns would you notice? Perhaps you'd realize that you tend to react impulsively in stressful situations, or that you have a habit of overthinking things that don't matter. Through reflection, we gain insight, and through insight, we find the path to growth. The Stoics saw reflection as a form of self-discipline. It's easy to be swept up by the demands of daily life, to go through the motions without ever stopping to ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing or if it aligns with our values. But when we take the time to reflect, we step back and remind ourselves of what truly matters. Reflection is not just about identifying mistakes. It's about reconnecting with our deeper purpose, reassessing our goals, and ensuring that our actions are aligned with our principles. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, reflection helps us stay grounded in who we truly want to be. Jung also said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." And that's exactly what reflection allows us to do. It gives us the clarity to see ourselves, our lives, and our world with greater depth. When we take the time to pause and look within, we can make sense of the chaos around us. Instead of reacting to life's challenges, we can approach them with a sense of calm, understanding, and purpose. This clarity is essential for personal growth, as it helps us make better decisions, build healthier relationships, and live with greater intention. Reflection is also a tool for building resilience. Life is not always smooth, and we will face setbacks and disappointments. But it's not the setbacks themselves that define us, it's how we respond to them. By reflecting on our experiences, we gain the perspective needed to handle future challenges with a stronger, more resilient mindset. Resilience is not just about bouncing back from adversity, it's about learning from it, adapting to it, and using it as a stepping stone for growth. Reflection allows us to take the lessons from our struggles and turn them into the strength we need to move forward. Think about a time when you faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable at the time. In the moment, it likely felt overwhelming. But once you had some distance, you could probably see how that experience shaped you. Through reflection, we gain a sense of perspective that helps us see that we are not defined by our failures or setbacks. We are defined by how we choose to grow from them. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't view challenges as something to avoid. They viewed them as opportunities to practice virtue, to become stronger, and to grow wiser. Of course, reflection is not always easy. It requires vulnerability, honesty, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But it is through this process of self-examination that we develop the resilience needed to navigate life's complexities. Every time we reflect, we make a conscious effort to understand ourselves better, to correct our course, and to align our actions with our values. This continual process of self-awareness is the key to becoming the best version of ourselves. Incorporating reflection into your daily life doesn't need to be complicated. It can be as simple as taking 5 minutes each day to pause, breathe, and think about the events of the day. What went well? What could you have done differently? How did you feel in certain moments, and why? By consistently reflecting on your actions, you not only build self-awareness, but also a deeper understanding of your goals, your motivations, and your deeper purpose in life. As you embrace the practice of reflection, remember that growth is not a destination, it's a journey. Every day is an opportunity to learn, to improve, and to become more aligned with the person you want to be. Reflection is a tool that helps you stay on course, providing the clarity and insight needed to navigate the challenges of life with resilience, wisdom, and grace. So take the time each day to reflect on your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions. In doing so, you will build the self-awareness and resilience necessary for continuous growth and improvement. Silence is a powerful tool, often overlooked in the noise of everyday life. In our world, where opinions fly freely and arguments escalate with the push of a button, silence is a rarity. Yet it's in silence that we find something far more valuable than words. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it's a space where we regain control, find clarity, and preserve our peace. In the face of tension, provocation, or even criticism, choosing silence can be the most powerful choice we make. It's not about retreating or withdrawing, but about creating the space to respond with intention rather than reacting impulsively. When was the last time you felt your emotions flare up during a heated conversation? Perhaps someone criticized you, or a disagreement escalated quickly, leaving you feeling out of control. In those moments, silence becomes a refuge, a moment to breathe and gather your thoughts before your next action. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. They knew that in moments of chaos, silence allowed them to control their reactions and preserve their inner peace. By choosing silence, you don't let the external chaos dictate your inner state. Instead, you reclaim your power. It's easy to see silence as weakness or as avoidance, but in truth, it is a form of strength. Choosing silence when faced with provocation or conflict isn't about being passive. It's about standing firm in your power. It's about understanding that not every conflict needs to be met with words. Sometimes, silence is the most eloquent response. Think about how often conflict is fueled by our need to prove ourselves, to be right, to argue our point. In those moments, silence is a quiet strength. By holding back, we prevent further escalation and allow space for the situation to cool. Often, in the absence of words, both parties are able to regain composure and approach the conversation from a place of calm. Silence is also a powerful tool for self-preservation. When faced with criticism or an attack, our first instinct is often to defend ourselves. We want to protect our image, to fight back, and to make sure that we are seen in the right light. But in doing so, we can often fall into a cycle of conflict that only adds fuel to the fire. Silence, on the other hand, breaks this cycle. By choosing not to react, we preserve our peace and refuse to let external forces dictate our emotional state. In moments of tension, silence serves as a reflective pause. It allows us to assess the situation and choose the most effective course of action. When we're overwhelmed by emotion or caught off guard, the impulse is often to respond in kind, matching the energy of the situation. But silence interrupts this cycle. It creates a moment of introspection where we can decide what kind of response will truly serve us. Instead of reacting with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, silence offers us the opportunity to respond with thoughtfulness and consideration. This is the key to conflict resolution, being able to take a step back, evaluate the situation, and choose the response that aligns with our values and long-term goals. Silence also teaches us humility. In a world where everyone has something to say and everyone feels the need to be heard, silence becomes an act of restraint. It's a conscious decision to step back and listen, to allow others the space to speak and be understood. By choosing silence, we signal that we are not concerned with being right or proving our worth. Instead, we're focused on understanding the situation, the other person, and ourselves. It's in this space of humility that we often learn the most. We listen more deeply, we observe more closely, and we understand more clearly. Moreover, silence is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's not about withdrawing into isolation or shutting down in the face of conflict. It's about knowing when silence is the most effective tool in a given situation. There are times when silence is needed to preserve peace, and there are times when speaking up is necessary to assert our boundaries or defend our values. The key is in knowing when each is appropriate and how to use them to navigate the complexities of human interaction. Silence also provides us with the opportunity to reflect on our deeper motivations. When we stop talking, we create space for introspection. What is driving our emotions in that moment? Why are we reacting the way we are? Often, in moments of conflict, our reactions are tied to past experiences, fears, or insecurities. Silence allows us to step back from the heat of the moment and examine those underlying feelings. It's through this self-awareness that we gain the clarity needed to make better choices and break free from habitual reactive patterns. As Socrates famously said, "An unexamined life is not worth living." Silence is the tool that allows us to examine our lives, our responses, and our relationships. In the practice of silence, we also find the ability to choose our words more carefully when we do speak. The power of silence is not just in what it stops us from saying, but in what it allows us to say when the time is right. By holding back in moments of tension, we give ourselves the space to speak with greater intention, kindness, and wisdom. Our words, when chosen thoughtfully, can have a much more profound impact than if they were spoken in the heat of the moment. Silence doesn't diminish the power of our words, it enhances them, making our speech more deliberate, considered, and meaningful. In our relationships, silence can be a bridge rather than a barrier. It allows space for the other person to express themselves fully, to be heard and understood. It's a way of showing respect, patience, and empathy. Instead of rushing to fill the silence, we give the other person room to share their thoughts and emotions. This, in turn, fosters deeper understanding and connection. As we move through life, we often feel pressured to speak, to respond, to react. The world demands our attention, our opinions, and our responses at every turn. But there's a quiet power in learning to choose silence, to know when to speak and when to listen. It's in these moments of silence that we reconnect with our inner peace and regain control over our reactions. Silence gives us the strength to resist the urge to fill every space with words, and instead allows us to find clarity, wisdom, and balance in the midst of chaos. In a world that constantly urges us to fill every silence with sound, it's easy to forget the power of simply being still. But silence is more than just the absence of noise. It's a tool for reflection, for growth, and for peace. It's in silence that we find the space to breathe, to think, and to connect with the deepest parts of ourselves. When we learn to embrace silence, we don't just find calm in the noise of life. We find the clarity to respond with intention, to live with purpose, and to navigate the complexities of our world with greater wisdom and grace. Time is a resource unlike any other. Once it slips by, it's gone, never to return. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose friends and find new ones. But the minutes, hours, and days that pass cannot be recovered. The Stoics, who valued wisdom above all else, understood this truth deeply. They believed that how we spend our time defines who we are and how we live. Time is the most precious asset we have, and yet we often treat it carelessly. We spend it on distractions, on things that don't serve our growth or our happiness. But what if we could change that? What if we could reclaim our time and use it to build a life that aligns with our values, one moment at a time? To master time is to master your life. This idea is not about becoming a slave to schedules or constantly running from one task to another. It's about making intentional choices about how you use your time. The Stoics believed in living with purpose, and that begins with being mindful of how we spend our time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This was not meant to be a morbid reflection, but a reminder that life is fleeting and our time is limited. Every day, every hour, every minute counts. The more we waste, the more we miss out on the opportunity to live fully, to grow, and to become the best version of ourselves. Imagine if you approached each day with this awareness, that at any moment, time could run out. Would you choose to spend it mindlessly, or would you use it to invest in your future, your personal growth, and the things that matter most to you? The first step in mastering time is recognizing that it is precious. The second step is understanding that it is a tool. Time can either work for you or against you, depending on how you use it. When you make choices that align with your values, when you focus your energy on what truly matters, you transform the way you experience each moment. This is the essence of Stoic time management, living with intention, making decisions based on what is truly important, and not allowing distractions or external pressures to dictate your actions. Think about the last time you felt like your day slipped away from you. Maybe you were busy all day but didn't feel like you accomplished much. Time can pass us by in a blur of distractions, checking social media, running errands, dealing with other people's demands. These moments aren't inherently bad, but when they consume our time without contributing to our growth, we are losing something far more valuable than just hours. We're losing the chance to live with purpose, to make choices that lead us closer to the person we want to be. Stoicism teaches us that we must act in line with our values and our purpose. The time we have is finite, and how we spend it is our choice. If we are not intentional about it, the days will pass, and we will have nothing to show for them but regret. Jung, in his exploration of the unconscious mind, spoke about the importance of becoming whole. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Becoming who we truly are requires that we stop living by default, reacting to whatever comes our way, and start living with purpose. When we live with purpose, we begin to align our actions with our values, and each moment becomes an opportunity for growth. This is the power of mastering time, not simply to be productive, but to be purposeful. Every action you take, every decision you make, is a step toward becoming the person you are meant to be. Time doesn't wait for us to get our act together, but it can be used as a tool to shape our lives if we choose to do so. Now, think about the things that truly matter to you. What would your life look like if you spent every day doing things that brought you closer to those things? What if your daily actions were always in alignment with your highest goals and values? The key to mastering time is understanding that every moment is an opportunity to do just that. It's easy to get caught up in the small distractions, checking our phones, overcommitting ourselves, chasing after things that ultimately don't matter. The Stoics believed in simplifying life, in focusing on the essentials, and this philosophy applies to our time as well. Instead of filling every moment with activity, we can learn to prioritize what truly matters, what will bring us closer to the person we want to become. Stoicism offers us a way to approach time with intention. By focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our decisions, we can align our time with our purpose. The Stoics understood that time, like all things, is finite, and they didn't waste it on things that didn't contribute to their growth. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Time management, from a Stoic perspective, is about more than just fitting more into your day. It's about spending your time in a way that aligns with your values and your long-term vision for your life. One way to master your time is to practice mindfulness in your daily activities. This means paying full attention to what you're doing without distraction and being present in each moment. Whether you're working, spending time with loved ones, or even just enjoying a quiet moment alone, mindfulness helps you engage fully with your life. This kind of focus allows you to make the most of every moment. By being present, you ensure that your time isn't slipping away unnoticed. It's easy to let our minds wander, to get distracted by things that don't truly matter. But mindfulness brings us back to the task at hand, to the present moment, and in doing so, it helps us maximize the value of our time. Another essential aspect of mastering time is learning to say no. In a world that constantly demands more of our attention, we must be able to prioritize the things that truly matter. This means saying no to distractions, to things that don't serve our purpose, and to people or commitments that drain our time and energy. The Stoics understood that to live a life of purpose, we must protect our time fiercely. This doesn't mean being selfish or disengaging from others, but it does mean being discerning about where we invest our energy. By saying no to the things that don't align with our values, we make space for the things that truly matter. The ability to say no is not just about protecting our time, it's also about respecting our own needs and boundaries. When we fail to set boundaries, we allow others to dictate how we spend our time, and we lose control over our lives. Setting clear boundaries allows us to focus on the things that truly matter and gives us the freedom to live in alignment with our values. The Stoics didn't see this as an act of selfishness, but as a necessary step in living a life of virtue and purpose. Mastering your time also involves being intentional about how you spend your energy. It's not enough to simply manage your schedule. You also need to consider how your activities affect your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. The Stoics knew that true happiness doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what truly serves us. By aligning our time with activities that nourish our well-being and contribute to our personal growth, we create a life that is rich with meaning. Time is our most precious resource, and how we use it defines our lives. If we want to master our time, we must first understand that it is not something we can get back. We cannot wait for the perfect moment to act. We must make every moment count. By aligning our actions with our values, setting boundaries, practicing mindfulness, and saying no to distractions, we take control of our time and, in doing so, master our lives. The Stoics remind us that time is a gift, one that we should use wisely, for it is through the way we use our time that we create a life of purpose, growth, and fulfillment. Master your time, and you will master your life. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. They're loud, constant, and often overwhelming. From notifications on our phones to the endless stream of news and opinions, it's easy to feel like we're drowning in noise. But what if the key to living a more fulfilling life wasn't in adding more, but in doing less? What if, instead of piling on new habits, goals, and possessions, the secret to living well lay in simplifying? This idea is not just a modern trend or a lifestyle choice. It's a core tenet of Stoicism. The Stoics believed that to live a life of purpose, we must eliminate the excess, the distractions, the clutter, the unnecessary things, and focus on what truly matters. Think about your life right now. How much of your time, energy, and attention are consumed by things that ultimately don't contribute to your happiness or well-being? Maybe it's the constant checking of your phone, the endless to-do list, or the pressure to keep up with everyone around you. It's easy to get lost in the noise, to feel like we're always chasing something, but never quite catching it. The truth is, the more we surround ourselves with distractions, the less we're able to focus on what really matters. And when we lose focus, we lose clarity, purpose, and peace. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that a cluttered mind is a distracted mind, and a distracted mind cannot live with intention. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of simplicity. In his Meditations, he said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." In other words, the quality of our lives isn't determined by what happens to us, but by how we choose to engage with the world. If we fill our minds with unnecessary distractions, we lose our ability to focus on the things that truly matter. But if we simplify our lives, if we clear out the clutter, whether physical or mental, we free ourselves to focus on what's important. And when we focus on what's important, we create lives of purpose, clarity, and peace. But simplifying isn't just about reducing the things we own or cutting back on our commitments. It's about reducing the noise in our minds. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to become overwhelmed. We're told that we need more stuff, more experiences, more validation from others. But in reality, the pursuit of more often leads to less peace, less clarity, and less satisfaction. The Stoics teach us that true happiness doesn't come from acquiring more, it comes from needing less. When we strip away the unnecessary, we make room for what truly matters. And when we make room for what truly matters, we discover a deeper sense of fulfillment. Take a moment to think about the space around you. How often do you feel overwhelmed by the clutter in your home, your workspace, or even in your digital life? The endless emails, the social media feeds, the piles of paperwork, all of these are distractions that keep us from focusing on what truly matters. The Stoics would encourage us to declutter, not just our physical spaces, but our minds as well. By eliminating the excess, we create room for clarity and focus. When we simplify, we clear the mental and physical space necessary to prioritize the things that contribute to our growth and well-being. In this simplicity, we find power. In practice, simplicity can take many forms. It might mean clearing out physical clutter in your home, reducing the number of commitments you make, or spending less time on your phone and social media. But it can also mean simplifying your mindset. How often do you find yourself overthinking situations, obsessing over past mistakes, or worrying about the future? The Stoics teach us that we cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. By simplifying our thoughts, by focusing only on what we can control and letting go of everything else, we reduce the noise in our minds. In doing so, we create a sense of calm and clarity that allows us to approach life with a steadier, more focused mind. Simplicity also leads to freedom. When we let go of the need for more, when we stop chasing the endless cycle of acquisitions and achievements, we free ourselves from the pressure to keep up. The more we accumulate, the more we have to manage. But when we simplify, when we focus on what truly adds value to our lives, we break free from this cycle. We stop living in pursuit of things and start living in pursuit of meaning. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that freedom didn't come from acquiring more. It came from letting go of what didn't serve them. This is why they lived simply and focused on cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues were their guiding principles, the things that truly mattered to them. They knew that everything else was a distraction, something to be let go of. In the end, simplifying your life is an act of self-respect. It's about respecting your time, your energy, and your mental well-being. It's about recognizing that you don't need more to be happy. You just need to focus on what truly adds value to your life. And when you do this, you'll find that life becomes clearer, more purposeful, and more peaceful. The Stoic approach to simplicity is not about renouncing the world or living in isolation. It's about living with intention. It's about eliminating distractions, focusing on what's truly important, and letting go of the things that don't serve your growth. So, how do you begin to simplify? Start small. Declutter your space, set clear boundaries with your time, and limit the distractions that fill your mind. Practice being present in each moment, focusing on what matters, and letting go of the rest. As you do this, you'll start to see the transformation. You'll feel a sense of peace that comes with knowing that you are no longer living in response to the world's demands, but in alignment with your own values. And in that simplicity, you will find the clarity and focus to build a life of purpose, growth, and lasting happiness. Life is short. I know it's something we all hear, but do we really stop to let that truth sink in? Every minute that ticks by is a minute you'll never get back. And yet, so many of us spend our time as if we have all the time in the world, wasting it on distractions, trivial tasks, and things that don't really serve our deeper purpose. We get caught up in the grind, constantly running from one thing to the next, without ever pausing to ask ourselves, is this really how I want to spend my time? The Stoics, wise philosophers who faced their own struggles and hardships, constantly reminded themselves of the fleeting nature of life. They didn't view this as a sad or negative thing, but rather as a powerful motivator to live more intentionally, to focus on what really matters. We could face challenges or find ourselves facing an end that's unexpected. This knowledge, rather than filling us with fear, should inspire us to live in a way that matters. Time, once lost, is gone forever. That's why the Stoics believed in living with purpose, dedicating each moment to what is most important. For them, this didn't mean running around trying to check off every item on a never-ending to-do list. It meant understanding what truly contributed to a meaningful life and focusing only on those things. But how often do we actually live this way? It's easy to get distracted by the noise of modern life. The emails, the social media updates, the pressure to constantly achieve. We're constantly told that we need more, that we need to do more, and that we need to be more. Yet, for all this doing, how many of us actually feel fulfilled at the end of the day? The Stoics would argue that true fulfillment comes not from doing more, but from doing what truly matters, what aligns with your values, your purpose, and your growth. That's where time management, according to Stoicism, is so powerful. It's not about cramming in more tasks or keeping yourself busy. It's about being intentional with how you spend your time. The key here is not to get lost in the hustle, to avoid the urge to fill your days with busy work, and instead focus on what helps you grow, what brings you true joy, and what allows you to contribute to others in a meaningful way. This isn't just about personal growth either. It's about understanding that time is a finite resource, and what you choose to do with it has a ripple effect. The time you dedicate to others, to your own health, to your purpose, these are the things that matter. This kind of focus is freeing. It allows you to stop chasing after empty goals or living up to other people's expectations. It gives you the space to align your daily actions with what truly brings you fulfillment. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by an endless list of tasks, you start to feel empowered by your ability to choose what's most important. Think about the last time you sat down at the end of the day. How did you feel? Was your mind filled with thoughts of all the things you still needed to do, or were you at peace, knowing that you had spent your time wisely? The Stoics emphasized the importance of reflection, of checking in with yourself regularly to see if you were living in alignment with your values. This kind of self-awareness is critical when it comes to managing time. If we don't stop to reflect, to take stock of how we're spending our days, we can easily fall into a cycle of busyness without ever considering if that busyness is actually getting us closer to where we want to be. The Stoics were keenly aware of how precious time is. For them, life wasn't about avoiding pain or running from hardship. It was about embracing every moment as an opportunity for growth. Every day was a chance to live virtuously, to practice patience, resilience, wisdom, and self-control. They knew that the greatest obstacle to living a meaningful life was wasting time on things that didn't align with these virtues. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reminds himself, "Don't waste time on what you don't have. Focus on what you can control. Time is one thing we cannot control. Once it's gone, it's gone. What we can control, however, is how we use it." And that's the power of Stoic time management. It's about not letting time slip by unnoticed, but rather using it to build a life of meaning. So, how do we apply this wisdom to our own lives? First, we need to take a step back and reflect on what truly matters to us. This is the foundation of Stoic time management. Ask yourself, what are the things that bring me the most joy? What are the activities that move me closer to my goals? What kind of person do I want to become? Once you have clarity on your values and your purpose, it becomes easier to prioritize. You start saying no to distractions, to things that steal your time but don't add value. And, just as importantly, you start saying yes to the things that align with your true purpose. The next step is to eliminate the noise. That means cutting out the excess. For some of us, that might mean decluttering our physical space, getting rid of things that no longer serve us. But it also means simplifying our schedules. How often do we say yes to things we don't really care about, simply out of habit or fear of disappointing others. The Stoics would encourage us to focus only on what truly matters, on what is in line with our values and long-term growth. This simplification helps us reclaim our time and energy, allowing us to spend it on the things that will bring us true fulfillment. There's an interesting shift that happens when we begin to live with the awareness of life's brevity. We stop letting time pass by unexamined, and we start using it with purpose. When we understand that time is a finite resource, we begin to act as if every moment counts. We stop taking our days for granted. We stop waiting for the right time to make changes or take action. Epictetus said, "If you want to be good, just be good." There is no need to wait for the perfect moment or for some external condition to change. The best time to live intentionally is right now. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to time management is about living with intention and purpose, not just filling your day with more tasks. It's about taking responsibility for your time and recognizing that how you spend it defines the quality of your life. When you live with purpose, when you focus on what truly matters, you make every moment count. Time, instead of being something you simply try to manage, becomes something you can master. And in doing so, you unlock the potential to live a life of meaning, growth, and fulfillment. Life is short, yes, but that's what makes it so precious. Don't waste it. Use it to create the life you truly want. Life doesn't happen in the abstract. It's not just about thinking, hoping, or wishing for the best outcomes. The reality is that nothing meaningful is accomplished without intentional action. Too often, we find ourselves dreaming, setting goals, and imagining the life we want to create. But how often do we actually act on those dreams? How many times do we say, "I'll get to that tomorrow," or "I'll start next week"? The Stoics understood something essential. Intention without action is empty. To bring your vision to life, you must take action, consistent, focused, and aligned with your values. This is where true transformation begins. In Stoicism, there's a concept called the dichotomy of control, which teaches us that while we cannot control everything around us, we always have control over how we respond. And within that response is the power to take action. It's not enough to just wait for things to happen or hope for circumstances to align with our desires. We are called to act, to move forward with purpose, and to make decisions that reflect our highest values. It's through action, aligned with intention, that we carve out the life we want, step by step. This is where many people falter. The world today is filled with distractions, noise, and endless opportunities to do something, anything, that fills the time. It's easy to get caught up in these distractions, to get busy without ever being productive. We can go through the motions of life, attending meetings, scrolling through social media, or checking off items from a to-do list, without ever asking ourselves if what we're doing is getting us any closer to our true goals. The Stoics teach us that the key to success is not merely doing more, but doing what truly matters. Every action we take should reflect our larger vision, our values, and our purpose. As Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." It's a powerful reminder that our actions define us. The things we choose to do, day in and day out, are what ultimately shape our lives. It's easy to talk about goals, to make plans and set intentions. But how many of us really put in the work? We all know the famous quote, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." But sometimes, even that first step feels too daunting. The truth is, every big achievement, whether it's a personal goal, a career milestone, or the growth of meaningful relationships, starts with the smallest action. If you wait for the perfect moment or for everything to be aligned, you may wait forever. The Stoics remind us that the time to act is always now. As Epictetus said, "Don't wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person." There is no perfect moment, no perfect circumstance. If you want to make progress, you must take the first step, however small, and keep moving forward with intention. This principle of intentional action doesn't just apply to big goals, though. It's just as relevant in our daily lives. Every choice, every action, no matter how small, is an opportunity to align ourselves with our values. From how we spend our time, to how we treat others, to how we approach our work. Everything we do sends a message about who we are and what we care about. Taking intentional action means waking up every day with a clear sense of purpose and living that purpose through your choices. It's about being mindful of the energy you put into your work, your relationships, and your personal development. Every moment is a chance to reaffirm who you are and where you're going. When you live with intention, you also start to notice the difference between actions that serve your values and those that don't. For example, let's say your goal is to build a meaningful career. Every day you're faced with decisions that will either bring you closer to that goal or take you further away from it. You might be tempted to waste time on distractions or take the easy route by avoiding difficult tasks. But intentional action forces you to ask yourself, does this align with where I want to go? Does this bring me closer to my long-term vision? With that kind of clarity, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and yes to what truly matters. What's fascinating about this is how powerful the simple act of deciding and acting can be. So often, people remain stuck because they're waiting for external conditions to change or for an opportunity to fall into their lap. But as the Stoics teach us, we can't control the external world. What we can control is our response, and the first response is always action. Each action you take is an affirmation of your ability to shape your own reality. You have the power to make choices, to start projects, to build connections. No one else can do that for you. Now, that doesn't mean every action will be perfect, or that you won't face setbacks. Stoicism doesn't promise a life free from hardship. In fact, it teaches that challenges are inevitable. What it does promise is that with intentional action, you'll have the resilience and strength to navigate those challenges with grace. In the face of obstacles, instead of retreating or avoiding them, Stoics encourage us to face them head-on, using them as opportunities to practice patience, resilience, and virtue. When you approach life this way, knowing that action is the key to overcoming adversity, you start to view challenges not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones to greater strength. But action without purpose is just movement. It's easy to confuse busyness with productivity, but they are not the same thing. Busyness often leads to exhaustion, while productivity leads to fulfillment. That's why Stoicism emphasizes the importance of aligning every action with your purpose. Each action you take should be a deliberate step in the direction of who you want to become. This means regularly checking in with yourself and asking, is this action truly serving my greater goals? Is this aligned with the person I want to be? As Marcus Aurelius advised in his Meditations, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. It's a call to stop discussing and start doing. Taking action with intention isn't just about achieving goals, though. It's about living a life of integrity. It's about embodying the values you profess, day in and day out, through your actions. Integrity comes when your actions match your words, when you don't just talk about what you believe, but live it out through your decisions. And this is where the power of intentional action really lies. By consistently choosing to act in ways that reflect your values, you become the person you want to be, piece by piece. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that the path to a meaningful life is not paved with idle thoughts or wishful thinking. It's paved with intentional, deliberate actions. Every day, you have the opportunity to take action, to choose your response, to move closer to the life you desire. This is the essence of living with purpose, taking ownership of your life and choosing to act with intention. Every action you take is a reflection of your commitment to your values and your long-term vision. So, take action, don't wait, don't hesitate. Your journey starts with a single step, and that step is always up to you. The world may not be perfect, but your ability to act with intention can make it meaningful. Imagine living a life where joy isn't something that comes and goes based on external circumstances, but something that's cultivated from within, something that comes naturally, no matter what the world throws at you. Now picture this joy being grounded in something deeper than fleeting successes or possessions. This is the Stoic view of joy, a joy that comes from the cultivation of virtue. In a world where we're constantly told to chase more, achieve more, and acquire more, the Stoic approach offers a refreshing, powerful alternative. That true joy, the kind that lasts, comes not from external achievements, but from the way we engage with the world and live our daily lives. At the core of Stoic philosophy is the belief that we, as individuals, can find fulfillment by aligning our actions with virtuous principles. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues aren't just nice-to-haves or lofty ideals. They're practical tools that, when cultivated and embodied, can help us navigate the chaos of life with grace and composure. By practicing these virtues, we begin to transform ourselves from the inside out. What we choose to do, how we respond to others, and how we deal with adversity all become opportunities to express these virtues, and in doing so, we not only grow as people, but unlock the door to lasting joy. Wisdom, for example, isn't about knowing everything or being the smartest person in the room. It's about making thoughtful, reasoned decisions based on what is right, rather than what is easy or popular. It's about aligning our choices with truth and reality, even when that truth is uncomfortable. It's the ability to step back, to see the bigger picture, and to act with clarity. And as we grow in wisdom, we find that we approach life with a sense of peace that we cannot find through possessions or praise. Courage, on the other hand, isn't just about fighting battles or facing physical danger. It's about the courage to act in the face of fear, to stand by your values even when it's difficult, and to confront your own weaknesses and limitations head-on. It takes courage to pursue a life based on virtue when the world around you is focused on instant gratification and superficial success. But this courage, this willingness to face discomfort, uncertainty, and adversity, gives us the inner strength to rise above external chaos. Every act of courage, no matter how small, reinforces our sense of self-worth and deepens our connection to the life we want to create. Justice, too, is a cornerstone of Stoic living. It's not just about fairness in a legal or societal sense, but about recognizing our interconnectedness with others and acting with empathy, respect, and integrity in all our relationships. Justice is about giving people their due, treating them with kindness, and striving for equality and fairness. It's about honoring the dignity of all people, including ourselves, and building a world where cooperation and mutual respect thrive. In living justly, we free ourselves from the frustration and bitterness that often accompany personal conflicts, because we are acting from a place of understanding and fairness, rather than from the ego. And then there is temperance, perhaps the most elusive yet powerful of the Stoic virtues. Temperance is about self-control, balance, and moderation in all things. It's the ability to resist indulgence, to not be swept away by the desire for excess, whether it's food, possessions, or even praise. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with messages to consume more, do more, and be more, temperance teaches us the value of restraint. It's about finding satisfaction in what we have and being content with enough. And in that space of contentment, joy arises naturally. It's in temperance that we learn that happiness is not about chasing the next big thing, but about appreciating what is already present. The wisdom of temperance allows us to stop searching for joy outside of ourselves and start cultivating it from within. When you begin to practice these virtues, you realize that joy is not something you have to chase. It's already there in the way you choose to live each day. You begin to feel a deep sense of fulfillment, not because you've achieved something externally, but because you are living in alignment with the things that truly matter. This is the Stoic path to joy. Through virtue, through the inner transformation of your character and actions, you discover that happiness is a state of being, not a state of having. And this joy doesn't come and go. It's not dependent on external circumstances. It's rooted in who you are and how you engage with the world. When you practice wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, you develop an inner strength that is impervious to the ups and downs of life. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely put it, a happy life is one which is in accordance with its own nature. When we align ourselves with these virtues, we live in harmony with our true nature, and in doing so, we unlock a joy that is steady, deep, and unshakable. It's easy to look at the world around us and think that happiness is something to be found in the next promotion, the next vacation, or the next acquisition. But Stoicism teaches us that these things are fleeting and they will never give us lasting peace or joy. External achievements come and go, but the virtues we cultivate within ourselves remain. They are the foundation of a life well lived, a life filled with purpose, meaning, and, yes, joy. So as you embark on your own journey of growth, remember that joy is not something you have to search for. It's something you can create. It's not about getting more of what you think will make you happy. It's about cultivating virtue in every aspect of your life. And as you do, you'll find that happiness follows naturally. The more you practice wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, the more you'll realize that joy was never far away. It was waiting for you to discover it within yourself all along. In the end, living a life of virtue doesn't just make you a better person, it gives you the keys to a more fulfilling, joyful existence. When you choose to act from a place of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, you unlock a life filled with meaning, peace, and, most importantly, lasting joy. This is the Stoic way. This is the path to living fully and joyfully, no matter what life throws your way. As we wrap up today's journey, remember that true joy doesn't come from what we acquire, but from who we choose to become. By living a life rooted in virtue, you unlock the peace and fulfillment that are yours to claim, no matter the circumstances around you. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal today. Your commitment to growth and wisdom is the first step toward living a life of true purpose. If you found value in this, I encourage you to dive even deeper into your journey. Click on one of the videos on the screen to keep going. I'm grateful for your presence, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay grounded, stay strong,